Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5.
A 13-mile-long procession and more than 200 vehicles following along as Captain Tony Grider is laid to rest today. We'll have the latest from his funeral and burial. And a man pleads not guilty to a Winchester truck stop armed robbery. We'll have the latest on the case where an employee shot a suspect.
A Guam National Guard soldier is doing better days after he was hit by a car here in Lexington. I'll tell you how the community is helping coming up.
WKYT News at 5 starts now. Quite a scene to see. Today, hundreds of firefighters from across the country said a final farewell to Captain Tony Grider.
More than 1,000 people packed Columbia Christian Church this afternoon to honor the Campbellsville firefighter. He died this weekend after being shocked by a power line arc during an ice bucket challenge last month. WKYT's Phil Pendleton is in Adair County with our top story at 5.
The services for Captain Tony Grider lasted nearly 2 hours. An overflow crowd, 2 rooms used inside Columbia Christian Church. But those that attended say that it was a fitting tribute to a man who meant so much to so many across multiple communities. It was a service about the brotherhood and sisterhood of the firefighting community, but also for those who lived a life of service and then who have given their lives in the ultimate way. Words were shared in what they're calling a celebration of Grider's life, his service, his smile, and his family, talking about his role as father, son, husband, and uncle, and a guy who simply loved what he did.
Captain Grider had a sense of humor. It was great. It was wonderful. His dry, droll sense of humor, and I will remember those moments, not necessarily when we made runs together, but when we were sitting around the dinner table or when he was playing some kind of a prank on a co-worker. That was Tony Grider.
Some who took part in today's activities never stepped inside the church, and you're going to hear from them coming up at our next newscast at 6 o'clock. But for now, in Columbia, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Following the funeral, Grider's casket was placed on a fire truck. It led a processional to its final resting place. The 13-mile-long route to the cemetery in Russell County went through downtown Columbia. From Sky First, you can see here hundreds of people lining up to pay their respects to Captain Grider. More than 200 people, including dozens of fire trucks, helped escort his body from the church to the cemetery. In lieu of flowers, the family asked for donations to Supporting Heroes, the American Diabetes Association, or to the National Society for PKU. We'll have much more from the burial on WKYT News at 6 o'clock.
We have new information about a National Guardsman who remains in critical condition after a hit-and-run crash in Lexington. Captain Noel Espino, a member of the Guam National Guard, was outside the beer trap Friday night when an SUV hit him. Police say former firefighter Jared McCargo was driving drunk. We're learning about McCargo's criminal past and how those details might have slipped through the cracks. WKYT's Sean Moody explains.
Captain Noel Espino was doing training here in Kentucky with other members of his Guam National Guard unit when the accident happened. Even though he's not from here in Kentucky, members of the Lexington community, including here at the beer trap, are stepping up to help out. Thousands of miles away from the island of Guam, Lexingtonians are doing what they can to help a Guam National Guard soldier.
It's just the right thing to do. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Managers at Cup of Commonwealth decided to donate a percentage of this week's sales to Captain Noel Espino. He's recovering at UK Hospital after a crash on Friday night. Police say he was outside the beer trap in Chevy Chase when a driver backed into him and then crashed into the bar.
Well, as soon as I saw the pictures online, we immediately wanted to do something.
Several other businesses are raising money for Captain Espino as well, including the beer trap. Police said his injuries were life-threatening. Today, a Kentucky National Guard chaplain told us Espino is getting better. Kentucky Guard members have been visiting Espino and his family at the hospital.
The Guard is family, so whether it's a soldier member from the Army, Kentucky Army Guard, or from Guam National Guard, we're going to jump in and support that family.
They say that's just part of the Guard culture.
If we had a Kentucky soldier in Guam who fell to some accident during a training session, that we would want them to do the same thing, and we have no doubt that they would.
In Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Jared McCargo faces charges of DUI, assault, and leaving the scene of an accident.
A Winchester robbery suspect pled not guilty during his arraignment this afternoon. Curtis Wilkerson was arrested yesterday. Police say he was involved in an armed robbery at the 96 truck stop. He told us yesterday in an interview that he didn't rob the store, but went inside for breakfast. His bond is now set for $50,000. Wilkerson is set to have a preliminary hearing in Clark District Court next Wednesday. And Devon Marshall has been identified as the second suspect in the case. Marshall was shot yesterday by the store owner.
Another beautiful fall day in the bluegrass.
Oh, it is. Wish I was outside. Those clear skies set to stick around through going into the weekend at least. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey's tracking the latest on the First Alert Defender.
You know, if I'm going to sound like a broken record, which I know we've been sounding like that over the past couple of days, at least it's a broken record that is about very nice weather conditions as opposed to just day after day of ugly stuff. Well, it's fall after all. We want to enjoy it. And a little look outside showing temperatures well into the 70s across much of central and eastern Kentucky with a partly sunny sky. Live First Alert Defender, nothing showing up. Defender's just going to remain calm, quiet, subdued over the next couple of days. If you're out and about this evening, we'll drop it from the upper 60s and low 70s at around 7 o'clock quickly into the upper 50s for the second half of the evening, and then a little cooler by the time 11 o'clock rolls around. Focus of the forecast, though. We have some nice over the next few days, but by late this weekend, changes start to show up, and those changes will bring some rain into parts of the region for the first time in a while. I'll tell you exactly when that happens when I come back in just a few minutes.
In our county-by-county coverage at 5, we're tracking stories in Marion, Franklin, and Madison counties. We begin in Marion County. That's where 16-year-old Adriana Couch is reported missing. Lebanon police say she was last seen September 12th. They say she might have been hanging out with older friends. She was last seen wearing a gray hoodie with a cardinal on it and blue jeans. She left behind necessary prescriptions. In Franklin County, 2 caretakers were indicted after officials say they stole from an elderly woman. Prosecutors say 36-year-old Kathy Stewart and 53-year-old Tanya Ward stole from the woman. A Commonwealth's attorney says Stewart and Ward stole silverware, money, jewelry, and checks they then forged. In all, investigators say more than $2,400 was taken from the woman. In Madison County, we're tracking a scam alert where the victim lost more than $1,400. Police say a caller claims the victim owes money for their electric bill. They ask the victim to pay their bill with a Green Dot Money Pack card to make the payment. One business owner fell victim to the scam. He contacted Kentucky Utilities, who handles his electric. Officials confirmed they would not ask for unusual payments.
And there it goes. The old Ledbetter Bridge over the Kentucky River was destroyed today. After more than 80 years, it was out with the old to make way for the new. The bridge had been closed to traffic since July of last year. It had become unstable because of land slippage caused by heavy rain. The rest of the bridge is scheduled to come down during the next several days.
NASCAR star Tony Stewart has been cleared of wrongdoing in the death of fellow driver Kevin Ward Jr.
Details are also coming out about Ward's possible role in his own death. Wendy Gillette has details from New York.
NASCAR champion Tony Stewart will not face criminal charges in the death of sprint car driver Kevin Ward Jr. last month.
The grand jury has determined that there is no basis to charge Tony Stewart with any crimes.
A fan video appears to show Ward pointing at Stewart after a spin-out during a dirt track race in upstate New York. Other drivers missed the 20-year-old, but Stewart's car hit him.
The fact that Kevin Ward was observed running basically down 2/3 of the track into a hot track in the middle of other cars that were still racing played a big factor in their decision.
No tests were done on Stewart, but toxicology on Ward showed he was under the influence of marijuana.
The levels that were determined were enough to impair judgment.
Stewart returned to racing after several weeks off to deal with the tragedy.
This is something that will definitely affect my life forever.
He issued a statement Thursday saying, quote, "While much of the attention has been on me, it's important to remember a young man lost his life. Kevin Ward Jr.'s family and friends will always be in my thoughts and prayers." Although NASCAR is not affiliated with sprint car racing, it adopted new rules prohibiting drivers from exiting their car after an accident unless there's danger. Wendy Gillette for CBS News, New York.
And it's not yet clear if Stewart will face civil charges in Ward's death.
President Obama sent a stern message to world leaders about the terror group ISIS. The latest from the United Nations coming up on WKYT News at 5.
And protests again in Ferguson, Missouri after a memorial of Michael Brown was burned. Testimony heard in Frankfort today brought up the Missouri unrest when discussing Kentucky police using military surplus. We'll hear the latest on WKYT News at 5:30.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey and First Alert Defender.
Making our way slowly but surely downhill toward the weekend on our middle of the work week Wednesday. Fine weather just continues throughout the region. Looks like it's going to hang around for the next couple of days. Let's get into it with the daily breakdown and start things out. Not as chilly tonight as where we've been over the past several nights. And I'm focusing on the latter part of the weekend with changes on the way that will eventually lead to rain on the way as we go into the first part of next week. Let's break it all down for you now in a little greater detail. Live First Alert Defender, nothing going on across central Kentucky. What a great day, though, to be out on the lake. This from our Kentucky Weather Twitter feed over at Cave Run Lake. Cave Run Marinas sending us this picture from around the Moorhead area. Beautiful blue skies, temperatures into the low and mid 70s all day long. Clouds have been showing up on our western skyline. Those are ice crystal clouds. A little cloud cover to our east associated with a big area of low pressure. Look at the rain heading up into the I-95 corridor. That stuff stays to our east over the next 24 hours with temperatures tomorrow upper 40s to start. How about upper 70s to end your day? Let's take you through it all. Hour by hour forecast. Low to mid 60s shortly after sunset. Quick drop into the mid and upper 50s. Very similar pattern. You get dry air in place. What happens with dry air is that it cools down very quickly as we lose the sun, and then it heats up very quickly as the sun begins to rise tomorrow morning. Already low 70s by around noontime, with those upper 70s tomorrow afternoon. Let's do it all over again on Friday, shall we? We'll start you out with around 50 degrees, and by the afternoon, into the upper 70s we go. We look good, high school football fans, for the action on Friday evening. What about out at Commonwealth Stadium on Saturday? Noon kickoff. Partly to mostly sunny skies. It's a breezy and a very warm day. We'll push 80 as we go into the second half. We look good for tailgating, and we look good for everybody who's going to be packing Commonwealth this weekend. High pressure across the eastern part of the country continuing to give us that very nice flow across Kentucky and most of our region. So upper 70s the next few days. At any point on Friday or Saturday especially, your car thermometer could show an 80. 78, chance for a shower on Sunday. Showers will increase, maybe a rumble of thunder as we go into early next week with a system that'll bring some at least scattered stuff at us from the deep south. Though we continue to ride the nice weather train into the start of the weekend.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Chris.
I've looked at Lexington rush hour traffic, a crash at Claysville and Man-O-War. That one is an injury collision in the middle of the intersection that police are working right now. Still have a lane closure on High and Lexington Avenue because of a water main break, and it turned out to be a stalled car at Nicholasville and Man-O-War, not a wreck. Now back to you in the studio.
To become a WKYT Live driver and download the Waze app, go to WKYT.com. Under the News tab, click on Traffic for more information.
A warrant issued in connection to the disappearance of a University of Virginia student. We're tracking the latest on the search for the man police want to find.
Today, the United Nations unanimously approved a U.S. resolution to crack down on the travel and recruitment of foreign fighters supporting ISIS. President Obama appealed to the General Assembly for a unified front as word of new violence emerged. U.S.-led airstrikes continued over Syria and Iraq for a second day. The president asked the international community for support.
Collectively, we must take concrete steps to address the danger posed by religiously motivated fanatics and the trends that fuel their recruitment.
The terror threat in the Mideast was just one of many global issues the president addressed. He also talked about the unrest near Russia and nuclear energy in Iran.
The president of France confirms today that a French citizen was beheaded in Algeria by terrorists. Hervé Gordel was killed this week by Islamic State fighter extremists. The French a great threat A U.S. terrorism watchdog group released a video of the extremists decapitating a hostage after France ignored their demand to stop airstrikes in Iraq.
The man initially described as a person of interest in the case of a missing University of Virginia student is now officially a suspect. Police have issued an arrest warrant for 32-year-old Jesse Matthew. They believe he was the last person with 18-year-old Hannah Graham before she vanished September 13th. Police are still searching for her as forensic scientists test items collected from Matthew's car and apartment for DNA.
Looking for anything that could be foreign. Biological fluids such as blood, seminal fluid, perspiration. There could be transfer of hairs and fiber.
Police believe Matthew could be a flight risk, saying that he has contacts in various states.
Violent protests erupted on the streets of Ferguson, Missouri last night. Nearly 200 angry protesters gathered in the St. Louis suburb after a makeshift memorial for Michael Brown burned. He was the unarmed black teenager who was shot and killed by a police officer, Darren Wilson, back on August 9th. Last night, some protesters smashed windows and destroyed businesses. Officials say it appears a small fire was intentionally set. Police are also investigating the fire that destroyed the memorial for Michael Brown.
India is celebrating today after successfully sending a satellite into Mars orbit. This was India's first interplanetary attempt. They're describing the mission, nicknamed MOM, as flawless. The orbiter's engines maneuver into its designated place around the red planet. MOM cost roughly $75 million US. Educators hope the success will inspire more people to pursue the sciences.
I'm really inspired and I really want to become a scientist or an astronaut when I grow up, so that I can research about more of planets. That's like Mangalyaan, it has research about Mars, and later in life I want to research about other planets.
Although this is a major feat for India, the country still dominates in other science fields such as software engineers and medicine. Next in Better Living, what you need to know about a dangerous cocktail that some teenagers are trying.
And coming up on WKYT News at 5:30, a Nicholasville horse rescue facility has taken in a lot of horses. We'll show you how you can help them out.